Just like Jeremy Corbell, the UFO researcher and documentary filmmaker, said recently that he's concerned with this new Pentagon coming up with this new office that's going to study UFOs. Now, Luis Elizondo is voicing his concerns too. There's an article here published today in The Hill. The headline says, ex-officials voice deep concerns over new Pentagon UFO unit. According to two former Department of Defense officials, the Pentagon office recently tasked with assessing U.S. military encounters with unidentified flying objects is woefully ill-equipped and improperly staffed to tackle its new mission. Moreover, the initiative threatens to derail a congressional proposal that would mandate unprecedented government transparencies on UFOs. In an interview, Luis Elizondo, the former head of an informal Defense Department unit that assessed military UFO reports, said that he had deep reservations about the office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, leading a government effort to investigate the UFO phenomenon. According to Elizondo, UFOs are not solely an intelligence issue. If we want 70 more years of secrecy on this topic, then that office is the perfect place to put it. They've had 4 years so far, and we have little in the way of efforts serving the public interest. Referring to pending legislation drafted by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand that would mandate unclassified reporting on UFOs and revolutionize the government's study of the phenomena, Elizondo believes that, quote, if we want meaningful change and transparency, then we should keep the spirit of the Gillibrand Amendment, end quote. Christopher Mellon, who ran the office's predecessor organization during the Clinton and George W. Bush administrations, echoed Elizondo's concerns. Mellon expressed shock that the Pentagon is taking on a permanent mission to analyze UFO encounters. As Mellon notes, his former office is an oversight versus an operational organization with no relevant funding, line authority, contracting, command, or technical abilities to execute the kind of robust UFO investigations Gillibrand's bipartisan legislation demands. Like Elizondo, Mellon believes that the inability of this office to engage effectively on the UFO issue is why so little has changed or been accomplished since 2004. And Mellon's reference to 2004 is not accidental. That November, 4 naval aviators observed a mysterious flying object at close range that appeared to demonstrate extraordinary technologies. According to the aircrew, the unknown craft accelerated instantaneously to hypersonic speeds without discernible engines, wings, or other control surfaces. The aviator's account of the 2004 incident is corroborated by radar operators aboard a nearby ship and an airborne command and control aircraft. I'm not going to read this entire article, but I will leave the link here for you. And later on in this article, Elizondo says, we've had 70 years to try to figure out the UFO problem, to try to figure the UFO problem out as a government while keeping it in the halls of secrecy, and we haven't come any closer to figuring it out. Why are we going to repeat the same mistake all over again? Are we crazy? That's the very definition of insanity. Have we not learned? Boy, that's a great quote. So basically he's saying that by burying this, and we talked about this in other recent podcasts, that the Pentagon had come up with this new office, and it seems strange actually that this new office was created. It came out of left field, and it's in contrast to this legislation that's from Senator Gillibrand that's supposed to have this open policy basically approach to studying UFOs as compared to this where it's all compartmentalized under one umbrella, and these guys like Mellon and Elizondo, and also as Jeremy Corbell also recently indicated, that they think this is a bad idea, that this is just another way to keep this stuff secret and keep it away from the public. And it could be. I highly recommend that you read this entire article. It's very interesting. Another quote from Elizondo: we in the Department of Defense are very good at addressing defined threats, whether it's weapons of mass destruction or terrorism or stabilization operations. But when you get to something that is ill-defined, where we don't know what it is, we don't know where it's from, we don't know what its capabilities are, We don't know what its intent is, and we don't know who's behind the wheel. That is a really tough topic to tackle from a national security perspective. But just because we don't know the origin of UFOs doesn't mean we should keep burying our heads in the sand. Yeah, he's had some strong words about this. He's very upset with this. It seems that he doesn't want to see this happen. Okay, just recently, about a week or so ago, the Pentagon announced plans to streamline UFO reports and analysis. And there was an article that we talked about that was it was all over the place, but here was an article from CNN. It said the Department of Defense announces plans to streamline the collection of analysis of UFO reports across the government on Tuesday, following the government's acknowledgement earlier this year that these reports are worth studying and may pose a national security threat. The department will create a unified group to handle the reports of UFOs, formally known as unidentified aerial phenomena. That's what our military calls it these days, across the military branches and other government agencies. And the name of that group, which is a mouthful, the new unified group is called the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. Okay, that was, and I'll leave a link for that article. But this is what they're talking about. This is what Elizondo, Mellon, Corbell, this is what they're complaining about. They're concerned that by doing this, it's going to keep the lid on this, continue to keep the lid on this, and we're not going to talk about these things as publicly as they were hoping that we would start talking about them. And actually, Elizondo in this Hill article, he said he praises the Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks's attention to the UFO issue. However, he expressed concern that Hicks is, quote, being hoodwinked by certain elements and members of her own staff, end quote. According to Elizondo, if Hicks had the complete picture, she would not have made the decision to place the UFO mission under the purview of this office. Pressed on his reservations over this office tackling the UFO problem, Elizondo pointed to a combination of ineptitude, moral objection to the topic, and classic stigma and taboo. Expanding on this point, Elizondo stated, documentation exists that, if made public, would illustrate the sense of urgency and the need for a neutral, unbiased, and objective office to investigate the UFO phenomenon. He also mentioned his resignation and protest over the lack of high-level attention toward the issue, saying, in some cases, there are individuals who have taken it personally that I left in the manner that I did, and they want this entire topic to go away. But he goes on and he says later on, and he expressed concerns about government transparency. He says there is plenty of documentation substantiating that certain elements of the Defense Department office have not been forthcoming. That's one of the reasons why there's a Department of Defense Inspector General evaluation to determine how they are handling, or in this case, mishandling, the UFO topic over the last 4 years. This is the same office that has bungled up the UFO issue so badly and has been telling people nothing to see here, to include not just senior Department of Defense leadership, but also the Department of Defense Inspector General and even Congress. When I talk to certain elements within Congress, they all say the same thing. That the office support has been underwhelming. While noting that there are competent, patriotic civil servants in this office, Elizondo believes that certain senior leaders in the office are operating in a manner that is not consistent with the agenda that Congress has for the American people. Yeah, he's really lambasting them here, but he does see a light at the end of the tunnel, especially with Gillibrand's his bipartisan legislation Congress is trying to pass. I think we're in a good spot. I think we've come a long way. There seem to be a lot of people really trying to get behind this in a productive, not in a sensational way. So, yeah. Yeah, this is well, I guess it's upsetting now. I mean, when you first look at the Pentagon story when it came out, you thought, okay, they're doing something here. Your first blush, it looks like, oh, they're just doing this. This is just going to be some way that they have an office with that communicates with the public and the press, under all one umbrella, and try to but really that's not what it is. It looks like what they're trying to do is wrench away the power, or the authority that the Congress is trying to employ itself to study UFOs, and they're trying to keep it away. They're trying to keep things secret, like Elizondo was saying here, which is really sad. Actually, it's really sad that they're still trying to keep this thing a secret, especially when people. They're just going to make people distrust the government even more now than they already do. Now you have some guy apparently. Now there's other ways of looking at this whole thing. Now one of the problems that it just seems okay. Like it looks like from you hear people like Elizondo, you hear Mellon, you hear people complaining about this new Pentagon office that they've created, that the Pentagon has created to handle the UFO situation. But again, it still makes you wonder, is this some sort of overall, is it some sort of some big game that they're playing, some psyops they're playing with the public here? I mean, that's what Lou Elizondo was, involved with when he was working at the Pentagon now, wasn't he? Like, what if this is all one big giant facade? What if, for instance, what if what really is happening here is that all these things that are going on is just a show. It's a show to get people interested in the UFO topic, but not for the reasons why what you would think. Not because they want to disclose the reality that there's extraterrestrials coming here. No. What if, just as a for instance, and I'm not saying I believe this, but I'm just throwing it out there because, again, we don't have enough answers from our own government officials on this stuff. So all you can do is speculate and postulate and wonder. Okay, but what if the real reason is that people are tired of war, right? So here we just pulled out of Afghanistan. I mean, people have been complaining. The concerns and the complaints have been getting louder and louder every single year. People are tired of American troops, stationed in the Middle East. They're just tired of this, fighting wars that they don't want, fighting wars away from this country that nobody really understands. Okay. So what if the real reason for all of this slow disclosure that we're seeing, this nonsense that we're seeing right here, the Pentagon creates an office, these people are upset, Congress is trying to pass this legislation. What if it's just a show to keep the focus on UFOs because and that they could pose a threat, right? Because now that if maybe it's to keep the military-industrial complex ball rolling. The weapons manufacturers, to keep the money rolling in their pockets. To keep the money, the amount of money that is earmarked toward weapons manufacturers and the military ever increasing every year. You got to have a threat, right? So here it is, served up on a silver platter. You got a UFO threat from. We don't know where they're from. They could be from China or Russia, but we don't know. They could be extraterrestrial. We're not saying they are, but who knows? So, but what if that's the real reason behind this? It's not that they care that the humankind as a whole finally learns the truth about our place in this galaxy. But what if it's just all about money and weapons and weapons manufacturers and the military industrial complex? What if that's what it is? Just a thought. I'm not saying that's what it is. But it's just a thought. Just a thought. Sometimes I feel like maybe we're all just being played, with this. Because the truth hasn't come forth for all these decades. We've been waiting, and finally it looks like we're going to get it. Then you have the Defense Department of Defense is saying, "Oh no, we'll take care. We're going to look at it, and now these people, now you have people like Elizondo. So no, they're just doing this to keep it secret. Again, it keeps it in the news. It keeps it a concern. It's a shame. It's a shame that this subject has been treated and handled the way it's been for all these years. It's just a shame that humankind as a whole has to sit back and be at the mercy of these gatekeepers who, they make the decisions on what we know and don't know. And it's hard to tell what the truth is. It's hard to see. You don't know. We have no idea what these people are doing behind the scenes. It could be things that you couldn't even imagine. And then meanwhile, there are things coming here. That's the issue. The thing is, there are things here. Their extraterrestrials are coming here. They are operating in craft that we don't have the capabilities to operate in the kind of craft. We don't have the technology that they have. Let's put it that way. And some people out there know this for a fact. Not everybody knows it for a fact because it's hard for everybody to know this as a fact until they see the actual proof with their own eyes. It's just such an incredible, unbelievable subject. I'm one of those people that did see one of these things, so I know for a fact that it's going on. But a lot of people out there that hear me, they want to believe, but they don't know because they're not me. They weren't in my body and they didn't see what I saw with my eyeballs. They can only take my word for it. I could be mistaken in their minds. See, that's the whole problem with this. Until you get somebody within our government that is sitting on that, the group that's in the government, the people that are controlling this narrative, and that's what this is. They're controlling a narrative. Until they release this information and make it public, all of this is going to seem fishy. Everything that happens with the government seems fishy. I can't trust. I mean, even though I want to trust Elizondo, I'm not sure if I do. I don't know. I just, like I said, it just seems like somebody in the government. It's time. Let's stop playing these games. Okay, you know something. I know you're sitting on something. The group that's responsible, that's playing these games, how about just letting it loose? I know they're not going to do it, but that's what you got to ask. You got to beg. Even though we're not going to get it, even though we should get it, but we're not going to. Not anytime soon. They're going to play games and, they're going to scare people. Oh, this could be a threat. These things are from outer space. I mean, maybe they're going to take us over. Who knows? We don't know what they're up to. We don't know what's going on. So we need more money to make more weapons and more, bigger, better, more technologically advanced weapons just to protect us, to be sure. Is that what it is? Who knows? Again, it's just like I feel like we're all just, there's somebody playing chess and we don't even know where the pieces are. We can't see where they're moving. They're playing a version of chess that we're not allowed to see the game.